What's going on, guys? My name is Rounded Tic Tac, and welcome back to another video. Now, today's video is going to be about the Devastator. I'm going to be a Devastator main. Hopefully you guys are too, and we can just run around being rocks together. That sounds odd. Why did I say that? Anyways, we're going to talk about the Devastator build that MTash was allowed to show us. Now, me personally, playing the insider test, I have a little insider, not insider knowledge, but I've used these abilities and I have a reference for what exactly they can do or what they might seem like they can do. So I just want to go over the video and tell you and kind of break it down from my perspective and kind of give you an idea of what build I think might be best. Plus the weaknesses and pros of the Devastator and what he's showing in the video. If you guys don't know who MTash is, he's a gigantic Destiny 2 creator. If you guys do not know him, he did get early access to the game and is allowed to show off certain builds and abilities. So we're just going to go over his video and check it out. And that's what today's video is going to be. But before we get into that, if you guys want to come over to my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/roundedtictac, we're going to be doing giveaways all of April 1st, hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. Come by, hang out, you can get the game for free. And lastly, if you guys enjoy this kind of gear guides and gameplay breakdowns, make sure to subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Wanted to get that out of the way? Let's jump right into the video. This is all about the Devastator, and let's just see how good it can be. So the video starts out, as you can see, he has 3 abilities. He's got Gravity Leap, Tremor, and Impale. We are able to use Gravity Leap in the demo, but not. This is probably your first time seeing Tremor and Impale. What Impale does, as you saw just right there, it literally impales the target. It also has a thing to, it does damage regardless, but if the enemy dies from the damage of Impale, they end up on that spike. What's cool about that is the bigger the enemy, the bigger the spike. And some of those alien creatures that you just saw get gigantic, and the spike, it's so satisfying. It's one of the most satisfying abilities I've ever seen in any video game ever. Here he's using auto reflect, but we all know reflect technically. But we all know about that ability. It does what it does. I just don't think it's going to be super useful later on in the game when a lot of those alien creatures are more melee focused. Here he's spamming Golem so he can just shoot down these targets here. He uses a melee skill there, and he mentions this earlier or later on in the video that Devastator does have the strongest melee attack, and that's up for debate, but he does have something in his skill tree that allows you to get double damage on your melee skill. So that is something to think about. Here he just kind of goes over what the passive of the Devastator is, how you can heal, and everything like that. But if we take a quick look at the build he is running here, he's talking about the double damage on melee skill. When I was playing, I skipped that skill. The late game, it's kind of hard to find that 1 second to actually melee anybody, and he says here with that perk that it might be able to one-shot most of the grunts. I think personally it cannot once you get into the late game, and that 1 point is probably spent elsewhere for a little bit better bang for your buck. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but when I played the game, I wasn't meleeing nearly enough to warrant a point into something. Then he goes here and we breaks down the skills. First, we have Earthquake, the basic ability that you get from the game. With the right mods, you can see it does a decent amount of damage at 4,064. So that's a fantastic ability for AoE clear. The Devastator and the Pyromancer are going to be your main AoE clearing enemies. Something about these flying monsters, they are the most annoying in the entire game. That's all I have to say about them. You'll fight them eventually. The next one we have is Golem here, and Golem in general is a fantastic ability for a selfish build. You can get this through the Golem's Limb, and there's mods that can give you Golem skin, and it's fantastic that way. If you're playing Devastator, I don't think you're going to have this skill equipped unless maybe you're solo. But if you're not playing solo, this most likely isn't something that you're going to be using. Plus we have Tremor, which he'll show in a few minutes here, which is kind of like Golem, except it doesn't give you increased armor. It allows you to lifesteal from enemies. Now we have Gravity Leap, and Gravity Leap is a fantastic ability, probably one of his top 3 in the entire game. It's instant. It gets you off the map if you're in a heated situation where they cannot target you. Like right there, you saw the enemy had to jump at the ground and not at him because he went into the air. It's super quick, and it has an amazing mod that gives you 200% healing if the Gravity Leap kills an enemy. So what you can do is you can shoot into the air if you're in trouble, find a weak enemy that has low health or is just a grunt that you know you can one-shot, land on him, and you end up with a full heal. Next, we're talking about Auto Reflect. Auto Reflect, we all know what it does. It reflects the bullets. two ways you can play this. You can use auto reflect while you're playing with the mod that allows you to shoot and use abilities. You can use it and make it a little selfish, or you can use it without that mod, the auto reflect mod, and you can actually block damage from your enemies if they stay behind you. This game is pretty fast paced. I don't know if that's going to be viable, but it's definitely something that you can do. But we can see here that it works. You know, we know what the ability does. We don't really have to talk about it any further. Something that he doesn't mention is auto reflect also knocks back melee enemies, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. Next up, my favorite skill, 8,128 damage with not necessarily many damage mods on it. We don't really know, is Impale. This is such a fantastic ability. It bleeds enemies, it kills them. It's basically an execute. And I think it's to make up for Devastator not having any sort of bullet ability, where I'm speaking about the fire rounds, the twisted rounds, and the blighted rounds. Devastator doesn't get that. What he gets instead is survivability. But here, Impale, it's just so much fun to use. I cannot wait for you guys to use it, and you can mod it pretty cool. And then we have Tremor. This is ability that honestly isn't flashy at all. You can probably barely tell when it's even activated, but what it does do, it staggers the enemies and bleeds. It can bleed them and it heals you. So it allows for you to just walk around and just do a ton of damage and stagger the enemies if you're playing with teammates. I love this ability. It was fantastic. The healing on it was so good. Then we have Boulder Dash. This ability I think was retooled from when I played it. It was very difficult to aim and use during my playtime with the game, and I do not remember these camera angles that he is getting, so I think it has been retooled. But what it does, it basically allows you to be the Juggernaut, and there's a legendary skill set that we've already seen that makes that a 1 second cooldown. Now we have Endless Mass. Nidus is 2 from Warframe, except not as powerful. You can see it here. It sucks in the enemies. This is something I would not run solo. The amount of time the enemies start moving again from when you use Endless Mass isn't enough to even really use another ability. However, with a team, you set it up, you pull them into like a time bubble, and then Pyromancer uses Phaser Beam, or we can do Pain Launcher. It's absolutely ridiculous what it could do in a team. And we know that they made this game to be ran with 3 people. This is a from the ground up co-op looter shooter. Now he gets into some of his gear, and I just want to mention some things here. He is level 30. He's only on world tier 3. I'm not exactly sure how the scaling works in the game, but I feel like the enemies are going to be tankier and tougher once he moves on. He's using blue, greens, epics. He's using everything that is in the game. Here he talks about the modding system, and you can see here how many mods. These are only tier 1 mods that are available in the game. I'm assuming most tier 3 mods are damage increases or something along those lines, but I'm also pretty sure that there are some unique and specific tier 3 mods, tier 2 mods that you can add on to your gear, allowing for some crazy builds. Here we have Seismic Commander's legendary set. The main thing to take away here is it buffs your Impale, so you can use it for 3 times and get up to 2 targets. And that's not including what else you could mod it for just Impale. And then we see here, increases damage to targets that bleed. Something to take note of is this Rivers of Blood mod here. Increases the skill damage by 50%. We're talking about Impale to enemies that are bleeding. If we take the passive of the legendary gear, it's 150%. We add on another 50% with Impale. Your Impale is going to be doing 200% more damage if they're bleeding. And since you're playing Devastator, there's so many ways to make enemies bleed. You can use the Impale as an execute, and it's insane. It's literally nuts. Another thing to take note that isn't mentioned here is the passive says increases damage taken, not increases firepower damage, increases anomaly power, just damage. So if you are able to bleed them with one of your abilities, we know from the Pyromancer, it seems that weaknesses or bonus damages stack. So just you can put this on top of the Heat Wave mod from a Pyromancer or something along those lines, and just really tend to just rip this game apart from its foundation when you're trying to build things and break the game and have fun with your builds. I cannot wait till we can really dive in and test this stuff out. Yes, most likely there's going to be metas of some sort. I'm sure there always is, but you can at least see here how much diversity there is in the game. You could use any one of those abilities. Nothing is bad. They're all good. They just do different things. I think some of them are more akin to group play and some are more selfish, like Golem or Auto Reflect, but in actuality, you can do whatever you want. And here he goes over the skill tree again. Something I do want to note here is I would not take bleed duration or the melee perk just for me until later on in the game, specifically the bleed duration. The enemies are not tanky enough. They will die fast enough where an extra 90% bleed duration isn't needed, and you could put those points elsewhere. That's just my opinion. And that's really it, guys. So I thought it would be pretty cool to check out the build that I'm going to run that I think is more akin to at least a leveling up build. As I said, I don't think you need that bleed duration. Things die fast enough. I've played the game. I should know, but I just want to go over exactly what I'm going to do instead. Now, you only get 20 points and it's not that many, but there's still some things that you can tweak and do, and I'm not even 100% sure if these capstones are worth it, but we'll get into it and we'll figure it out together. So the main 3 skills I'm going to be using in my Devastator build are Gravity Leap, it's a kinetic ability, Impale, which is seismic, and Tremor, which is seismic. Tremor is for crowd control and healing, Impale is for executing and big targets, and the Gravity Leap is for damage and getting the out of dodge. Those are the abilities, and let's see why I picked these perks here. First, we have Anomaly Damage or Anomaly Power. Easy explanation. Seismic, this is our Impale and Tremor cooldown, so we're at 15%. More Anomaly Power. Kinetic, this is specifically for a Gravity Leap. Having that up all the time or as much as possible allows you to move around the map much faster, do damage, heal because it has that really cool mod, and get the hell out if you're in trouble. Then we have more Anomaly Power. We're going to take this perk right here, 15% of your Anomaly Power damage. This is because you're not going to kill everything in one shot, so you're going to need some extra bullet damage to be able to finish them off quicker. Then we have Seismic cooldown. Again, Impale, Tremor. Now it's at a 30% cooldown reduction. Anomaly Power here. Here's another thing. Increase damage by 20% to enemies below 30% threshold. Since the Impale acts as an execute in most scenarios, and if you have that legendary armor that gives you 150% extra damage to bleeding targets, plus the perk that gives you another 50%. Now, if they're below 30% health, you're doing 220% extra damage on your Impale. I know that sounds like a lot, but seriously, everything in this game bleeds. Never mind, I don't want to get into that analogy. 6% extra Anomaly Power, then we have bleed damage, not bleed duration. I feel like you don't need it, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see down the line. And then this is just to combine with Tremor, allowing you to heal up off of all the targets that you cause the bleeding to with Tremor. So it's like double bang for your buck. This is going to be so much fun. Then we have Skill Life Leech. So now you're healing from this, from Tremor, from this. You're going to be so tanky. Any skill ends, you get more armor. So if your Gravity Leap ends, boom, you land on the ground. Now you have 20% more armor anyway. So it's really, really helpful. Then we're going to take the extra bleed damage here. And lastly, 50% skill damage Seismic. So this is your Impale yet again. So that's at 270% damage on your Impale. That's nuts. The last 4 points I chose to do are weapon damage, again for finishing off enemies. And then instead of just shotgun damage, I chose to get armor piercing so I can use whatever weapon I want. Then weapon damage close range, that kind of classifies me to SMGs or shotguns, but who knows? We don't really know how the crafting system fully works just yet. And then this is a 30% cooldown now we have on our Gravity Leap. Probably what I'm going to be running, guys. You can do and use this website all you want and check out your builds. All the classes are there, but this is probably what I'm going to run for the reasons that I stated before. I just wanted to go over this. I thought it'd be something cool to do. This is my Devastator build that I'm running day 1. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you April 1st. TikTok out.